Okay. Let's see. Let's wait a few more moments to people join. Hello, hello. Annie, do you by any chance remember where Luca left off with the triage last week? I guess it's no. Thank you. Yeah, Luca just told me he is not gonna make it. Okay.
You said the last one was 6:39.
6:39. Okay.
That's the one.
Okay. Perfect. 6:39. Okay. Hello, everyone. All right, we have a couple of people now. We can get this started. Welcome to the JSR meeting. Today is July 10th. Today we're gonna go through the issue tracker like always. However, first gonna showcase a new feature. If I can share my screen, let's see. Let me do that. Let me share it from here, share. Let's see. All right. So we have changed one thing that many people have been asking for, and that is being forced to be like currently you're forced to be logged in with GitHub. Currently there's only GitHub sign-in and that's it. Well, we've heard people complain and we've changed it. So now you can also log in with GitLab and not just GitHub. This also opens forward much the possibility to add more sign-in possibilities besides GitHub and GitLab. So I looked at Microsoft. I'm not going to deal with that anytime soon. It's really stupid what Microsoft is making people do to make OAuth possible, but I can see us adding maybe Google login or other services. I saw Bitbucket might also be something interesting, but those are not priority really. We have the infrastructure now for it, so it's much easier. But I've heard people complaining all over the place, be it on the Discord, be it on the issue tracker, be it in person. So here we have it now. What about anything non-centralized? Can you give some example? And I guess that would come also close to, for example, GitLab self-hosted stuff. No, because that just gets down a pretty big rabbit hole and OAuth. Yeah, the problem with self-hosted stuff in the end is that we need to interact, like you need to have a JSR application on the service that this should be running on. We need to be able to specify the URLs and the settings. For self-hosted author, yeah, that's something I've not investigated in really yet. It's gonna need some changes, and it's gonna be a bit tricky, but I don't think it's impossible. But it's definitely not high priority. If you maybe open an issue with hosted providers, and maybe if you have an idea how we can implement this or how this should look like, that would be really appreciated, even if it's just the issue alone. But yeah, I can do the implementation itself, but if you have some suggestions or ideas on how we can actually design this, that makes it much more likely that I can much easier implement this and much faster, since I don't have unlimited time, sadly. But yeah, so you can sign in with GitLab and GitHub. I need to fix that. This is only for local dev, still a bug. It will be working correctly on production, and then you can go to your account settings and you can connect multiple accounts. Right now I have GitLab and GitHub connected. I can just connect GitLab, and you will not be able to disconnect GitHub now because you need to have at least one account connected to be able to log in into JSR again. So we enforce that at least one system is connected. But I can connect to the GitLab, we can authorize it, then it's connected. I can disconnect the GitHub, and if that works, yes. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. There we go. So yeah, login with GitLab is now possible. One more thing would be that we would like to be able to display your GitLab account as well here, where we display the GitHub account. However, GitLab requires authenticated API calls to be able to retrieve the GitLab username based on the GitLab ID, because everything we store internally, both for GitHub and GitLab, is the respective IDs, since those don't change, but usernames change. So yeah, it would be nice if we can figure out a way to do lookup of this. The problem is we can easily do this if you have a GitLab account connected, and we can use your GitLab token to do the request. But if you don't have GitLab connected and you're looking at someone's profile that has GitLab connected, it will not work. And so it's kind of only working in very specific scenario, which is not ideal, and I'd rather not have something half-assed implemented, since that will confuse people as well. So until we don't find a solution around that, I will not add a display for GitLab. If we find a way to do unauthorized calls, unauthenticated calls, then that would be amazing. I don't think we want to have our own GitLab token just because rate limiting, since there's a lot of users. That would happen quite quickly. So yeah, unsure right now. If maybe someone from GitLab would hear about this, maybe they can give us a token. Who knows? Just for this purpose alone. Not sure. But yeah. For now, this is the scope of this implementation. And one thing I'm going to work on next is account deletion. Right now you have to send us an email. It's not great. You should just be able to press a button and delete your account. And now some of the infrastructure around being able to delete account is now also set up, given that connecting external accounts has some levels of overlap with that, and changing and connecting. So yeah. Let me see. Citadel is your recommendation. I mean, let me take a look at that. Oh, here it is, Discord. Let me open that link. There we go. Use management tool that quickly sets up like auth. I don't lose. So what exactly does this? Wait, let's see. Also, what about being able to link our profile to a self-hosted Git, as well as displaying the self-hosted Git repo that a package is hosted at? So for that, slightly tangential, I was also looking into GitLab or IDC, it will not happen anytime soon. GitLab or IDC works different in GitHub or IDC, so that won't happen anytime soon. But one thing we can do is something that we talked a while back, I think with the Sentry folks when we had the recording with them, is basically having the displayed GitHub repo and the actual GitHub repo be separate things. So right now, this one is used for IDC and displaying where the source is. And what we want to do is change that and be able to, if I go into the settings here, be able to have GitHub repository for displaying it, and also a separate one for OIDC. And if we have separate entities for OIDC and display, we can then also do displaying of other things like GitLab or your self-hosted Git instance. So yeah, that's something we can do then. But yeah, currently not possible. Basically, we just need to split this thing into two, and then it will be possible. And using repository from package.json. We don't do detection of stuff from package.json for JSR, so probably not. But we can discuss that at a later point. I feel like that's getting deeper into that feature, but first let's get the possibility to set up a separate repo in the first place. And then we can look into how we can expand that. Doctor asked, if you sign in with GitHub, then sign out and sign in with GitLab. Do you make two accounts? Yes. So just to showcase that example. So currently I have both connected. So let me disconnect that. So now I only have GitHub connected to this. I can sign out. Then I sign back in and I sign in with GitLab. That will create a separate account. Currently, I don't have a setup yet in that you can merge two accounts. That's something I would work on next. But alternatively, additionally in this PR that I'm still gonna add probably today, is that if we see that the same email account is being logged in with in both services, so if I like, let's say I have leo@dino.com for my GitHub, and I also have leo@dino.com for my GitLab. If it sees that both accounts use the same email address, it should automatically link them. That's because it's going to be extremely rare that you're going to be two different people using the same email account on different services. It's definitely going to be the same person. So that's that's that. So that will then one way to avoid that. Obviously, if you use separate email accounts or separate email addresses in your accounts, then you will not get automatically linked if you do a brand new login. Obviously, if you do the connection flow normally, then yes, it will work. And then yeah, I'll add a button to link to a separate account. That will get a bit more complicated and definitely will be a follow-up feature and not be landed with this one. Also, could I talk about an issue I'm having with automated documentation? Yeah, feel free ahead. What's the problem? Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mhm. I see. Yeah, so mm, let me think that through for a moment. Um, yeah, so Dino Doc, which is the Rust crate that we use, or rather our Rust crate from the Dino company that we use on JSR for uh, doing all the documentation generation, it does not currently understand the add function JSDoc tag explicitly. And I don't think necessarily that's difficult. I think that's potentially relatively simple fix. Um, I have not looked into it yet, so I cannot guarantee that it's simple, but I think it's not too difficult. The only difficulty here I can see is... Oh wait, no, I don't see any difficulty with this actually. Never mind. No, this should be relatively straightforward. So, yeah, let me take a look. So if I go to Dino Doc, we have this JSDoc RS, and basically we currently use regex for detecting, which is really bad and it's somewhat limiting, but it's been good enough so far. Let's put it like that. We're gonna change it at some point, but not for now. And basically, we have, let's see, where is it? So yeah, we have a giant enum here for all the different doc tags that you can use. And I don't believe we have function in here. Yeah, these are alphabetically. We don't have, let's see, function. No, we don't. So yeah, this basically would mean we would have to look at the JSDoc documentation. Let's see, function. There's function. And yeah, this marks an object as being as a function, even though it may not appear one. Fair enough. So that's, and it takes a name. We would not support this. We would only support this syntax, just because of limitation. But yeah, basically, this is an option, basically a tag that takes an optional value, and yes, JSDoc tag would maybe value. So basically, the only thing necessary here is add an OR function and then handle that there. And that's the simple part, the parsing it out of the JSDoc tag. The more tricky part is then rendering it as a function. That then will require a bunch of changes in variable here, because currently we just, so variables currently are rendered either as a variable, as you know, or as interface / type definition, if we can detect that it is an object that is with a constantly defined type, or statically defined type. There we go. So it will need some work here, but overall, I think this is like half an hour work I can do quickly. Or if you want to take a look, go ahead. It's up to you, but I can do this probably next week. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, this is I think this is not too difficult after thinking about it. So we probably can do this, and I'll add myself a reminder actually right now to look into this next week. Reminder, JSDoc variables as functions. And remind me sometime next week. Okay. Yeah, so I'll take a look next week for sure. This week I don't have enough time for that. But yeah, hopefully that will fix that. And yeah, that's that. No problem. Does anyone else have any questions, ideas, topics they want to bring up to? I don't think we have much more to talk about GitLab and GitHub stuff. So what we would then be doing next is go back to the issue triage for the next 9 minutes, or we can talk about some topic if anyone wants to bring something up or a feature they really want to have. You can message or you can just start talking. Up to you. Right, I guess no. So I guess issue triage it is. Um, let's see. So let's mainly look at the features. So we have JSR score for pre-release versions. Yeah, so this kind of brings me back to our issue board. Let me check which we have. Oh, where is, here it is, sub issues. Yeah, so this kind of falls under this one. Let me throw this one in, this one as well. Basically our handling for pre-releases sucks. And we need to fix that. So yeah, that's another sub issue of that. Then yeah, go ahead. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that is, yeah, again, I think, do we have, yeah, I think this is part of this. And okay, so technically you can, um, let me see, if I go to Dino, we have, for example, this one. Not sure if it actually has any docs. Wait, no, let me find something with pre-releases. I remember seeing something with pre-releases recently. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. But if you have pre-releases, actually, let's see. Yeah, this one. And I cannot find a good concrete example right now with something that has only pre-releases. But basically, you can do is go to the versions list, and then click on the pre-release here, and then you can view the docs for that. That should work. But yeah, obviously it's, oh yeah, good point, fresh. Uh, Obviously that is kind of hacky. So yeah, for example, fresh init, it, right, fresh init is back, so fresh core, there we go. If it loads. So yeah, there's nothing to view, but if you go and click on a specific version, then everything works. And the fix here actually is basically relatively simple. So currently, if we see a pre-release, we don't consider it for most aspects of JSR. It is there and you can install it, but we recommend obviously the latest release. The fixes here is if there's no latest full release, we should show the latest pre-release at least. So this should be working. But yeah, this is not difficult. It's more around, or it's, there's nothing really around it. It's relatively simple fix, just having to update a few SQL queries. It's just that we want to kind of fix all of these things somewhat at the same time, because all about pre-releases kind of suck. But I feel like maybe doing it incremental might be better, just so we can actually fix these issues. Because, for example, if you try to install a package that has only pre-releases, you also get the same problem, and that's a problem with the Dino CLI / JSR CLI. So yeah, it's yet another thing to fix, but also not difficult. I don't think I have the time to look into that one specifically, though, anytime soon. But I know it is uh, a paper cut many people come across. So it will be fixed. Mhm. Yeah, that's again part of the SQL queries and publishing flow. Uh, so the score is never dependent on a version. It's always dependent on the latest version. Reason why we do that is because the score contains stuff. Okay, fair enough. Let me go to a package that has a score. Um, God, why is it so slow right now? Um, that's really strange. The 500 errors definitely means there's a bug somewhere outside, but the slowness, I am not sure because this is all being served by Google GCP. So I don't think there's too much. I mean, obviously, sometimes there's some processing it's doing, and there is caching from most of the stuff. So my guess is maybe you hit some pages that are not cached yet. But even then, it has been feeling a bit sluggish. Something must be wrong somewhere. That will be investigated. But yeah, about the scores again. So there's stuff like description, runtime, these are dependent on not any specific version. So that's why we did all the scoring. It always counts for the latest version because these things are related to specific versions. So the overall score always is on the latest version. Maybe we should make it possible that you can see the score of older versions. I don't necessarily see much of use case except being able to see progress of releases, but even then, I don't see too much of a need for that. But yes, being able to see release versions even of pre-releases is definitely something we should fix, and that's again a few SQL queries. Wait, there's a comment. There are some instances where a request just doesn't load, but clicking it again does. Yeah, it's really, really strange. I'll have to take a look at the logs on Google, but yeah. So yeah, pre-release stuff. This all should work, but yeah, not sure when I have the chance to look into that. All right. Next topic. Let's see. Should be a compatibility tag for React Native slash Hermes. Um, so this basically goes into adding a works with for React Native slash Hermes, and I guess it could. Um, I am not familiar with those environments. I have not used those environments. I don't know how JSR works on those environments, so I cannot really comment on this for now. And relatively low priority. The main ones are the browsers and the runtimes that people use. So adding more we can, but I also don't want to overload that. I don't want to add way too many environments that can be interacted with just because it makes the usability a bit more bloated. But not saying that we're not going to support more environments if more environments come along. So we'll see. But this one is low priority. Then let's see. Param documentation ignored for rest/spread parameters. Yeah, that just needs to be fixed. The doc comment isn't being loaded for that. Not difficult, but something we can fix. Read-only string field is not inferred. Okay, so this has to do with slow types and DTS generation. So definitely something we should fix, honestly. But yeah, not my field. That's someone else's field. Sort versions in packet mentioned JSON file. This is an internal file used by the environments, or rather by the tools around JSR to look stuff up. Currently, these versions, I believe, are unsorted. I don't see much need for sorting them. But maybe there is some use cases for this. Let's ask for having them sorted. Especially since this is not an array, this is an object with fields on it. So would be strange if there's a required sorting around this, but we can do that if necessary. Document how to create pre-releases. JSR automatically distinguishes Semver compliance pre-releases versions from normal versions and treats them like yanked versions, but this specification may not always be obvious to users. Since this not currently seems to be mentioned in documentation, why not add this? Yeah, again, more pre-release related stuff. This also needs to be fixed. Obviously, documentation around this would help, for sure. But we also should fix it in the first place. And also add documentation about behavior, because if you have an existing version, a fully released version, and then a pre-release version, it will still by default display the fully released version, and that's by design. That's how it works also for crates.io, for example. I'm not sure about npm. My guess is npm does not really care. And then let's do the last few ones, and then we're calling it because we're already over time. Don't show packages and search results that only have yanked versions. We need to rework the search infrastructure, which will hopefully actually be done in the coming weeks. Orama is currently working on a new system that they're currently releasing to general availability, and they're gonna give us access to that in the next round that they're gonna make it GA for people. And then we can interact with that, use that, and that's when I'm gonna work on search related infrastructure again. And that will hopefully fix up a bunch of stuff. This one that only has yanked versions would require that we add a new field to the search indexes to indicate that, but not difficult. And yeah. Add explanations for works with info. Works with info is deprecated using a cluster of icon and may not be unfamiliar for some users. So I guess this should have some hover state to display information around that. Well, does it work? Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess that works. Maybe we could add a separate icon for getting information to link to docs. Yeah, maybe. I'm fine with either approach. So currently we do have a functional solution, which is when you hover over it, it will show that what this means. I think that's good enough for now, but if we want to expand this, we can expand this. I'm going to leave this open for now. And last two features. Class we export as cons should be listed in documentation. This one is definitely more complicated. Yeah, this will be trickier to do. Yeah, because this is inferring of types, and type inference is something we don't want to go down too deep, because at that point we're just creating our own TypeScript compiler ourselves, and that's not something we want to do. And then support symlinks during publishing. Yeah, sounds relatively straightforward. Symlinks should just work. It should resolve the symlinks when publishing, and that's it. Well, yeah. But this is, I think, relatively low priority. Yeah, P3. All right, so we finished at 697 today. We can continue this in the next meeting in 2 weeks. Let me check. Do we have anything blocking that? Nope. I'll be present in 2 weeks at the next meeting. Yeah. Any last second questions before we stop the meeting? Or anything? Nope. All right then. Then thank you very much. And I'll see you at the next meeting on July 24th. Have a good one.